I love my HBCU. And boy, I love it, love it. I love it, love it. I love my HBCU. And man, I hope my team they won one. I hope my team they won one. Yeah, man. I hope my team they won one. I hope my team they won one. I tuned into the HBCU Sports Lab to see if my team won or lost. If they lost, I'm quiet as a mouse. But if they won, keep tab. I'ma do the dab, yeah. Dr. Cavil, he know what he be talking about. Mike and Charles, they know what they be talking about. They compress the analytic data with the hip hop. If you know them like I know them, they gon' tell you if your team, if they won or lost, and who the ball, So listen to Professor, yes sir, and pay attention, cause he gon' teach a lesson.
This is Dr. Cavil with Inside the HBCU Sports Lab with Mike Washington and Charles Bishop. As I get my little vest today squared away. We'll get that going there as I'm looking at and see where I'm looking. But welcome to Inside the episode 722, Inside the HBCU Sports Lab radio show and podcast, a show that's covering the sporting HBCU dash for all things HBCU sports for institutions large and small. From the NAIA to the NCAA, we share insights and information on the HBCU sports culture, HBCU athletic aesthetics to facilitate the story of HBCU athletic programs and the business of HBCU sports. In short, we just call it the HBCU sports pedagogy. I'm your host, Dr. Kenyatta Cavil, along with my co-host, Mike Washington, Charles Bishop, coming from our home studios and sending a signal live to K-Switch 1230 AM studios with the Texas Radio Hall of Famer and beautiful home of Texas Southern University from Houston, Texas. With that being said, let's bring everybody on board. We have none other than Charles Bishop. We have A.D. Drew. And we have Wilton Jackson II. So we have a first-class show for you all today. I will say that Mike Washington is on assignment. He's traveling again. Myself, I literally got back off a plane out of Austin. It's such a short flight. They don't even serve you on those short flights. But it was a good trip over doing a grant that we were rewarded for HBCU EPP program. So excited about that for Texas Southern University and college education. 3 years grant that we'll have for a couple of $1,000. So $300 to be exact. And so we're excited about what that will do for our programs, recruiting some additional students to get into education preparation programs and obviously to service our current students that we have, as well as the professors in that area. With that being said, it looks like we have Charles on board. He's at the airport there as he starts to make his move. It might be a big game or two if Charles is in the airport ready to get down. What's on your mind, Charles?
Yeah, in the airport now, getting ready to fly into Jackson for this weekend's festivities. We're gonna, homecoming this upcoming weekend. So, my frat brothers, Spring '94, we getting in tonight. So we'll get it up.
Oh Lord, oh Lord. Make me think twice about heading to Jackson. Wilton, them folks over there know how to do it right. Wilton, how you doing? Might be a big game. Jackson, he's smiling. You see, I'm trying to make sure I look the part. Wilton, hey, you flexing. You on mute? You on mute, Will?
Another weekend, another good weekend of college football. Y'all crazy.
He's so sharp and looking so good. He got supposed to know what he's saying. It don't matter. Mute or not.
Nah, it's another good weekend of football. You've alluded to it, Jackson State homecoming, and not so much just homecoming, but I think we're going to see, or at least I'm hoping that we see one of the best HBCU football games between two teams this weekend.
Yeah, that's two of us. There's two of us. I imagine three of us. Imagine four of us. And quite a few others. So great points that you make there, Wilton Jackson II, in terms of what is a big weekend on multiple levels for a big time focus. As we'll say throughout the show, we'll save the last segment where we'll take the deeper dive. But for me, while HBCU eyes are all over the HBCU landscape, there's a feature, if you would not, in Jackson, Mississippi. The scope is on Jackson, Mississippi to see how it goes down. With that being said, Drew, I know that you're working this weekend again, but what's on your mind in terms of the HBCU sports landscape?
Well, Yeah, I'm gonna take a shot. Uh,
Already? We just
I'm getting it in. We know we got some good football coming up this week, and we hope that the only way we're gonna see the Sonic boom in Atlanta is if the team brings them along with them. Just want to throw that shot out there. So
that means you're not looking for Bethune-Cookman either.
The only way we're gonna see they band is if the team brings them along with them, because we know they're not coming any other way. So
That's true.
we gonna leave that. But no, while the attention of HBCU football is focused on Jackson, Mississippi, which it should be, let's not forget about the other three conferences.
That's true.
With their races that we have going on, we've got a whole nother division in that same conference where the game of the century, or at least the game of the decade, is going on this Saturday. So while Alabama State, Jackson State deserves a bulk of our attention, let's not forget about the little folks out there.
Well said. And as I said, we'll save the big game for the last segment. We'll give them a full segment. But that's still, as you know, we have two other segments where we'll talk about football. And just for Drew's purposes, we'll make sure we'll touch on those other four conferences, their big games in their said conferences. And we'll talk about a couple of other matchups here and there, because these guys will take you inside what is going on in the HBCU sports, particularly as we get into football. But with that being said, there was a thing called basketball that went down this week in terms of the media day. Women's for the SWAC on Tuesday, and then men on Wednesday. BCSN was in there. I know Charles got in there and got a chance to ask a couple of questions. So I'm going to go to Charles to just get his thoughts or any other additional direction you want to give as we give a little love to basketball. As Drew said, that there's more outside of the big game with Alabama State traveling to Jackson State this weekend.
Yeah,
One versus two. So, Charles, what are your thoughts in terms of the basketball landscape?
Yeah, when you take a look at the predicted order of finish, I think the top three are the ones that kind of jumped out for me with regards to Southern being number one, Alabama A&M number two, and Jackson State number three. So those top three teams that, kind of jumped out at me. I was not expecting Southern to be number one. They are the defending SWAC champion, but they lost some pieces. They had 9 seniors on that team, on that women's basketball team last year. So who can make that ascension with regards to this upcoming season?
Good. Let's look at the top four. I like to bring it up into thirds. And so I'm going to get in the top four, particularly since Texas Southern is in at number 4 on the women's side. Home team gets a little love. Number 3 is Jackson State. Both those teams received 1 first-place votes for those that were voting in it. Texas Southern, 202 points, respectively. Jackson State, 213. Going number 2 is Alabama A&M at 224 with 5 votes. And as Charles mentioned, Southern is selected and predicted order to finish at the top again with 265. They received 14 votes. Wilton, do you have the information on the men's side of things in terms of any notes there?
Absolutely.
Go ahead.
No, I do. So on the men's side, they released their predicted order of finish as well. Bethune-Cookman was predicted to finish first with 232 votes and 12 first-place votes, followed by Southern at number 2, number 3, Jackson State, number 4, Alabama State, number 5, Texas Southern, number 6, Alabama A&M, number 7, Grambling State, number 8, Florida A&M, number 9, Prairie View, number 10, Alcorn, and number 11 and 12 was Arkansas Pine Bluff and Mississippi Valley State.
Good stuff, good information. Charles, I'm going to ask you this first before I go to Drew to give me his news of the day, just a little more about basketball. What has you cited in terms of the women's side? How deep do you think the conference will be this year?
That's a great question, Doc. I think there's going to be a lot of parity in the conference this upcoming season, especially when we kind of take a look at kind of how the SWAC basketball tournament kind of played out last year. Alcorn made a little run, but all these teams are bringing back some pieces, and it's kind of exciting to watch. Those new pieces that are coming in. One of the things I noticed. Texas Southern transfer, Jada Belton's over at Alabama A&M now. So, you got some moving pieces around there. So it's going to be fun kind of watching the parity in the league this year.
Good stuff. I'm going to go back to you, Wilton, and since you broke down the men's side in terms of those rankings, same question to you, but for the men, how deep do you see the conference being this year, or do you see it very deep in terms of it just functioning at the top?
No, I think it's going to be deep all throughout. And we kind of got a glimpse of that throughout the season, especially like after that first month where you saw different teams that were, say, high in the standings, maybe take a couple losses to some lower tier teams in terms of standings wise. Didn't necessarily mean they didn't have the talent, but I think it's just a reminder that, just because a team may have a certain record doesn't necessarily mean that they don't have the talent or that they're not good. So, and I think the SWAC tournament, to Charles' point, was a direct indication, but I do think that some of the heavy hitting teams like on the men's side, Bethune-Cookman, Southern, and Jackson State, I would expect to see all three of them still near the top. And then, of course, Deshaun Ruffin was named the preseason player of the year. And I think that a lot of people, got a chance. For those who didn't see him play in high school in Jackson, or that didn't get a chance to see him play before he got to Jackson State, dude is absolutely talented. And you really only got a chance to see a glimpse of it last year. And I think you're going to see the full arsenal of what he has to offer for this Jackson State team in this year coming up, in this season coming up.
Good stuff. Great breakdown, Wilton. Appreciate that. And let me go to you, AD Drew, as we start to ask you from your perspective what it looks like. But I will say this about BCSN. They had the interview, so we'll go through football and let everybody get excited about their football makeup. Obviously, we'll give some updates here and there through the non-conference. But after we get through the Celebration Bowl, get our analysis on that, you'll get a full scope of going back in terms of the media day before action kicks off in the SWAC for basketball. So we're going to save and archive that a little bit and see if we can get everybody's full attention as things kind of turn in December for the next sport. Doing that, now it's come to you, Drew. What's on your mind in terms of HBCU sports news of the day?
Well, I love SWAC basketball, fellas. And how do we go through and not this HBCU for us or HBC for us? What's not supposed to have these things that we had? Once again, we've got people stepping on toes when it comes to media days. This time, the oldest basketball conference, with the oldest HBCU conference itself, the CIAA, has its basketball media day on the same day as SWAC basketball media day. I don't know who was out there first. They did a poor job, both of them, of really putting it out there to the folks. But I'm going to give the CIAA some love because, I'm all about the little school. They announced their predicted order of finish. I'm going to start off on the women's side. Going through, we'll start at the bottom. Number 12, Bluefield State. Number 11, Johnson C. Smith. Number 10, Elizabeth City State. Number 9, Lincoln of PA. Number 8, Shaw. Number 7, Winston-Salem State. Number 6, Claflin. Number 6, Livingstone. Excuse me. Number 5 is Claflin. Number 4, Union. Number 3, Bowie State. Number 2, Virginia State. And number 1, Fayetteville State. On the men's side, starting at the bottom again, number 12, Winston-Salem State. Sorry, Steve. Number 11, Elizabeth City State. Number 10, Livingstone. Number 9, Bowie State. Number 8, Bluefield State. Number 7, Shaw. Number 6, Johnson C. Number 5, Lincoln, PA. Number 4, Union. Number 3, Fayetteville. Number 2, Claflin. Number 1, Virginia State. And before I turn the mic back over, I just had to, even though my institution that I got my beloved degree at, it's just giving us so much low-hanging fruit that we could talk about. I'm talking about the FAMU Rattlers who are changing their colors to money green because they keep paying all the people from media's bills with all the content that we put out to money green and orange. FAMU, can you give me a week where y'all not in the news? FAMU, that's all I want to say. Please, Rattlers, please. Fam, goddamn you.
I think Drew was alluding to the fact it's come out that the interim AD at FAMU is heading to Alabama A&M as the deputy.
A week after the suspended AD, it was kind of they cut ties with the suspended AD.
Oh, did they? I didn't hear that.
You didn't hear that.
Yeah. So they have moved on. They have moved on from the suspended AD. Wow. Yeah. Big news. You get it all right. That's a lot. That's a lot going on.
Please.
And I was just going to give you a big kudos in terms of releasing the top one that you went through all 12 teams. I was going to get on you for that. You're going to list all 12. But then I thought about it a little bit, Charles. For those teams at the bottom, this might be the last time they give any love because we do the top 7. So I think that you own it. Now, the other thing is I give you credit because Wilton, he's the media guy. He knows this. You don't go from the top to the bottom and see. You always go for suspense. Who's at the top? You start from the bottom to the top.
You know what? Doc? My mind in football season. I ain't even got the basketball. I ain't even the basketball.
You telling the truth. You're right. You thinking about this number 1 versus number 2 ranking. With that being said, let's take our first break and come back on the other side and let Wilton toss the football so we can get it right. With that, we'll be right back after this first break.
Hello, my name is Jeremiah Williams, a defensive lineman, and I am a proud member of Jackson State University Tigers football team. Me and my team are visiting Las Vegas, Nevada for the HBCU Las Vegas Classic. We would love to dine at Chick-fil-A located at 9830 West Flamingo Road. I encourage you to do the same for great food, fantastic dining experience. The owner and operator, Ron Peterson, a graduate of Prairie View A&M University, will be excited to have you as a guest. Go Tigers, go Swag, and eat more chicken.
Yeah. I love my HBCU. And boy, I love it.
For over 30 years, HBCU Image has been more than just an apparel store. We've been a movement, a statement, a legacy. We celebrate the pride, the purpose, and the culture that make historically black colleges and universities legendary. Whether you're a student or a lifelong supporter, our gear lets you wear your HBCU story with confidence and style. Because when you wear HBCU Image, you're not just wearing clothes. You're wearing culture. You're wearing pride. You're wearing purpose. HBCU Image, a Kenny T's company.
ESPN Events presents Red Lobster Band of the Year, a title reserved for elite HBCU marching bands. A season-long competition that culminates in Atlanta on Friday, December 12th. Drum majors, percussion, drill, auxiliaries, musicality. All aspects will be examined by the toughest judges in the world of college bands. 4 will qualify for the big stage, where national champions will be crowned. Follow us on social media for rankings updates throughout the season. And join us in Atlanta on December 12th. For event and ticket information, visit bandoftheyear.com.
Compress the analytic data with your hip-hop. If you know them like I know them, they gon' tell you if your team, if they wanna lose, and who the ball. So listen to Professor, yes sir, and pay attention, cause he gon' teach a lesson.
This is Dr. Cavil inside the HBCU Sports Lab with Mike Washington and Charles Bishop. As we get ready to run on this, let me give you those top 7 rankings again. I'm gonna start with the major division. From the top 7 and then do the mid-major in terms of top 7. As we get into these major division matchups, we'll also talk about a couple of games from the mid-major matchups that are intriguing for you this week. As we do that, looking at the major division top 7, we have at number 7, Texas Southern University. At number 6, we have the Howard Bison. At number 5, we have the South Carolina State Bulldogs. At number 4, Prairie View A&M Panthers. At number 3, North Carolina Central. At number 2, Alabama State Hornets. At number 1, Jackson State Tigers. Let's get into the mid-major division with the top 7 from that perspective. Mid-major division, top 7. Number 7 is Livingstone Blue Bears. Number 6, Kentucky State Thoroughbreds. At number 5, Albany State Golden Rams. At number 4, Johnson C. Smith Golden Bulls. At number 3, Virginia Union Panthers. And number 2, the Edward Water Tigers. At number 1, you have the Benedict Tigers. Now let's get into our matchup of this week as we get into those major division and mid-major matchups. As we said, we'll start major division, and North Carolina Central was crouch over, which is essentially our MEAC versus SWAC Challenge. North Carolina Central Eagles 4-2. If you would, Florida A&M Rattlers are 1-2, 0-1. I would pick on Drew in terms of this matchup, but he's already told us that while he would like to look at FAMU right now, there's just too much going on. So I'm going to let Wilton get a chance to look at this matchup because we're going to switch it up and have y'all go through different matchups as we go it this way to kind of move through it instead of everybody because you've done some breakdowns earlier this week. So, Wilton, I'm going to ask you from this perspective, what does FAMU Rattlers have to do to be able to pull out a victory over North Carolina Central Eagles, the number 3 ranked team that goes on the road to showcase what they've been doing? And obviously, when you think about Coach over there with North Carolina Central, he has the number for the SWAC most of the time. He has a really good record. So with that being said, what do you see from the Rattlers finding a way to get this done? What do they have to achieve?
Now, Doc, the advice I'm going to give is going to sound very simple, and it is simple, but it's going to be hard to do just based off the fact of the way that North Carolina Central has been playing ball.
Sometimes that's the way it is.
Absolutely. I mean, from the play of, starting with their quarterback and Walker Harris, we've seen him go from game manager to really truly facilitating this offense. We've seen Christian Mosley dominating in the ground game. We've seen North Carolina Central's defense take hold and limit its opponents. But I think for FAMU to win this game, they have to get stops against Walker Harris and the impact players from North Carolina Central. They also themselves have to have explosive plays, whether that's coming from, starting with their quarterback from R.J. Johnson. And also when they get into the red zone, they would absolutely have to score touchdowns. I mean, obviously you want to put points on the board with field goals or touchdowns. But in this particular case, because this is a North Carolina Central team that can pile on the points pretty much against anybody, they need to score touchdowns and essentially find a way to keep Walker Harris and that high-powered offense on the sideline. That's the only way. That's the recipe for success for FAMU to not only potentially win this game, but also make it a interesting and a close game.
Ooh, not win it. He said just close. They have to do it. Great points. And when you think about Coach Trey Oliver, as I said, he has the number to the SWAC, so it'll be interesting to see if he continues that dominance. He's already looking ahead, talking about can he get into Houston to play a game with Texas Southern University. I set it up. We'll see what that looks like as we go further. Let's get into this next matchup moving forward, staying with the MEAC team, which is number 6, the Howard Bison, 3-3 on the season. They take on Sacred Heart Pioneers, 4-2. This is and I'm gonna go with you, Charles, on this one. This is a Howard Bison team defensively has played really solid in terms of what they do, but they're struggling offensively. They had an extra week. Do you see them finding a way to get any offensive going, or do they have to really lean on their defense to find a way maybe to keep the Pioneers down and then chip away and try to find a way to get out of on the road with the victory?
Yeah. The best solving for a struggling offense is a running game, and I need to see Howard kind of pick up the running game. I think that's the big thing. I think you touched on it in terms of what they've been doing defensively. That's what's been keeping them in games, and that's what's going to propel them, hopefully, in this game against Sacred Heart. But I've got to see that physicality from Howard that we saw a couple of years ago when they made a Celebration Bowl run.
Good points you make there. You're right. You got to find a way to run the ball, particularly when you are just not able to throw it up across the landscape in terms of what they're doing offensively. So good points made there. I'm going to go with Drew. I want to go to this next matchup. Let's go to number 5, sliding down there, which you have South Carolina State Bulldogs, 3-3 on the season. Play an old foe that used to be a MEAC team, now out of the CAA, Colonial Athletic Association, known as the Coastal Athletic Association now. North Carolina A&T Aggies, while they're just 1-5, 1-2, they've been able to put up some points in a couple of their contests. They're being somewhat competitive. So I'm interested from this perspective from you, Drew. What are your thoughts in terms of the Bulldogs that have showed some chinks in the armor, but for the most part find a way to keep winning, particularly when they play the HBCU brothers? They really are getting it done. What are your thoughts on the Bulldogs versus the Aggies? Homecoming for the Aggies. G-Ho.
Yeah. First of all, G-Ho should not, the atmosphere of G-Ho should not intimidate South Carolina State. We're starting with that. But what should concern South Carolina State is a lack of running game in the last couple of games. And for a Chennisberry team, coach team, not to be able to rush the ball, especially for balance, is concerning. Chennisberry, former offensive lineman. Chennisberry, former offensive line coach. You would think that the line would be good where he could push and get these guys where they would be running the ball for about 140, 150. Heck, they had like 50 yards in the last game. I don't have the exact number in front of me, but it was putrid for a Chennisberry coach team. So that's that is concerning. What is a plus is that defense, especially that front seven for South Carolina State. So they'll be there, but not one to get embarrassed at home on homecoming. Coach Maurice Flowers, I think this game is going to be sneaky good, everybody. This is going to be a game. South Carolina State, if they make a mistake, let A&T stay in this game. A&T gets a special teams touchdown or a defensive touchdown or a turnover where they're set up in the red zone right off of the turnover. A&T can do it because A&T is not a bad team. They're not over the hump, but they're good enough where when you let them hang around, they can take advantage of it.
Yeah, right on the money. Very good points. Particularly if you allow them to get a little momentum. You talking about homecoming. We've seen teams ride that when they can get some momentum, getting things going. I'm going to go back to you, Wilton. We're going to look at Delaware State. Coach Jackson started off really hot. He slid a little bit. He's been able to put up points, but not really stopping anybody. But this is a Division II matchup. This is one of the teams that oftentimes out of that North C10, they tend to have some good teams, but this team is struggling. Southern Connecticut State, 1-3, 1-1. I don't think there's any problems for Delaware State, particularly since they're home, but I am interested in your thoughts, Wilton. Will they just have so much offense, physicality to be able to run if they'll get this done? Or can Southern Connecticut State, I should say, sneak up on them?
I don't think Southern Connecticut State sneaks up on Delaware State. I think this is a Hornets team that's going to be hungry from coming off of that close loss to Monmouth. And you kind of just alluded to it. We thought when you watched that game with Delaware State and Monmouth last week, the Monmouth obviously a top 25 FCS team this season. And coming into that game, you were wondering, or at least you knew that they had a high-powered offense, and you wondered to yourself, could Delaware State score with them and defend them? Well, we learned that Delaware State essentially throughout this entire season, they could score at anybody. So I think at this point, we know what Caden Bennett can do at quarterback. We know what their offense can do, specifically with Marquise Gillis, running the ball for Delaware State. So I don't see them having any issues with, being able to move the ball against Southern Connecticut State. I don't see them having any issues in slowing them down either on defense. And I think that after giving up so many points against Monmouth last week, I don't see them dropping another game. So I think this is a strong win for Delaware State, again, still inching closer into MEAC play.
Good stuff. That's all we'll break down in terms of the MEAC is they're still going through their non-conference gauntlet. Boy, they play non-conference games for a long time. I'll break it down into a third of the season. Essentially, they play 2/3 of their season in non-conference matchups. But with that being said, we're going to dive into a couple of SWAC matchups, get you a CIAA top 10 matchup, SIAC top 10 matchup. After this break, we'll take this next one, come back, and do just that.
Hello, my name is Blake Davis, and I'm a defensive back, and I'm a proud member of the Grambling State University Tigers football program. When me and my team are visiting Las Vegas for the HBCU Las Vegas Classic, we would love to dine at Chick-fil-A located at 9830 West Flamingo Road. I encourage you to do the same for a great food and a fantastic dining experience. The owner and operator, Ron Peterson, a Prairie View A&M University graduate, will be excited to have you as a guest. Go Tigers, go SWAC, and eat more chicken.
Yeah. I love my HBCU.
This is the Dean of the College of HBCU Sports, Kenyatta Cavil of Dr. Cavil's Inside the HBCU Sports Lab with Mike Washington and Charles Bishop. come mix it up in the lab where the course lecture is in session every Tuesday from 6 o'clock p.m. Central Standard Time on Facebook Live, YouTube Spreaker, or the BCSN app, as we discuss all things about the HBCU sports culture, including exploring the week that was in the sporting HBCU diaspora, as well as the upcoming week of HBCU sports. With me, the Dean, the College of HBCU Sports, on Dr. Cavil's Inside HBCU Sports Lab with Mike Washington and Charles Bishop. Course lecture dismissed.
It's never too early to plant the seed, to share the tradition, and instill a sense of pride in your HBCU with your little ones. HBCU Pride and Joy Children's Boutique helps you share your school spirit with a wide selection of adorable kids apparel and accessories officially licensed from your favorite HBCU. Visit hbcupridejoy.com and follow us on all social media at HBCU Pride Joy on Facebook and Twitter.
For over 30 years, HBCU Image has been more than just an apparel store. We've been a movement, a stance, a legacy. We celebrate the pride, the purpose, and the culture that make historically black colleges and universities legendary. Whether you're a student or a lifelong supporter, our gear lets you wear your HBCU story with confidence and style. Because when you wear HBCU Image, you're not just wearing clothes. You're wearing culture. You're wearing pride. You're wearing purpose. HBCU.
College football fans, the Cricket Celebration Bowl is celebrating 10 years of crowning an HBCU national champion. A champion will rise at Mercedes-Benz Stadium on December 13th as the MEAC and SWAC champions clash in Atlanta. Join us for championship football, interactive fan experiences, and iconic marching bands. It's an HBCU family reunion that you don't want to miss. See who will be crowned the next HBCU national champion. For event and ticket information, visit thecelebrationbowl.com.
Compress the analytic data with your hip hop. If you know them like I know them, they gon' tell you if your team, if they wanna lose, and who the ball. So listen to Professor, yes sir, and pay attention, cause he gon' teach a lesson.
This is Dr. Cavil with Inside the HBCU Sports Lab with Mike Washington and Charles Bishop. Mike Washington's out on assignment, so we have none other than the team here getting it done with Charles Bishop, Wilton Jackson II, and Drew. Just looking at some of these key matchups as we do what we do. Let's get back into it and get into some SWAC games here. Looking at these matchups, obviously this is Mississippi Valley State Delta Devils. Thinking about that A&M Bulldogs Tiger matchup. I know the Bulldogs don't want to go back and look at next week because Tigers maybe pull a two from the Bulldogs, if you would, the way they beat up on them quite a bit there. But you do have Alabama A&M as they're sitting in the 10th spot, continuing to try to update their season as they started out relatively solid, but falling on hard times after two straight conference losses. They're 0-2 in the conference race. Valley, interesting to see for me, do we get that Valley team, or do we have it going in different directions? From my perspective, see a lot of offense in this game. But Wilton, where are you going in terms of the Delta Devils and the Alabama A&M Bulldogs matchup this weekend?
I'm gonna lean with Alabama A&M, and for many reasons of what you just said. They coming off that big loss to Jackson State, played a strong first half, but just kind of fell apart in that second half. And you got to credit Jackson State in that regard. But I think Alabama A&M comes back. You would like to think that they would have a dominant performance against Mississippi Valley. Doesn't necessarily mean it to be a blowout, but I'm expecting them to come back strong. Expecting them to be able to, protect the quarterback, be able to move the ball and essentially get a win that they absolutely need to just essentially remain in contention within the SWAC East. Because right now, I mean, for the majority of most of us that watch and cover and really observe the SWAC in general, most people think this is a two-way race right now in the SWAC East, and rightfully so. For the most part, it is between Jackson State and Alabama State, but you can't really just fully count out Alabama A&M at this time. And so I think if you're Alabama A&M, you know, things haven't necessarily gone your way perfectly. But the one way to essentially, you know, bounce back is to get a win against a SWAC East opponent in Mississippi Valley and continue to play well throughout the season, because you never know what could happen.
Good points. I'm fascinated to kind of see where this goes in this game, just from that perspective. Let's go to another game that's interesting for me. I'm gonna go to Charles to break this one down with his thoughts on Southern Jaguars. Oftentimes they're a tough team, particularly when they're down a little bit, struggling. 1-4, 0-1 conference race as they took on a rival, Jackson State, and things didn't work out in terms of what they wanted to get done. But now they're on the road. You're talking about coming back after a week. You go on the road to a Bethune-Cookman Wildcat. If we don't know anything about this Wildcat, when they actually stand at 1-1, is the fact that they can put up points. They're 2-4 thus far in the season, but they offensively, and they do it uniquely where they don't just depend on one thing. They can throw it down the field. They can make moves. They're fast in terms of what they can do, but they can also run the ball. So I don't know if that's a good mix for the Southern Jaguars. That can't really score, it seems like, effectively, not consistently at least. And while they're pretty solid in some areas defensively, to me, when it gets going, particularly, you don't get any help from your offense, it can get a challenge for the Jaguars. Do you see the Jaguars finding a way to kind of right the ship with a tough road game going that far on the beach to Daytona? I want to hear what Charles had to say about this match.
It's going to be tough, Doc. I mean, especially when you take a look at the way Bethune-Cookman can score. They got some playmakers, and as you mentioned, Southern has had a difficult time, you know, trying to go point for point. When you go back to the Alabama State game, they were right there in that game with Alabama State until halftime, and then, you know, the wheels kind of came off. So that's kind of the one that you kind of try to figure out with regards to Southern, like what sort of identity do they have? Cameron McCoy has to be a lot more consistent. I think that's one of the big things that you see with the offense, and we'll see what it looks like for this Southern team coming out of a bye week. But it's going to be a tough to try to get that win on the road. I got to go with Bethune-Cookman with this one.
Charles, you're not being nice. You're not being nice. With that being said, Drew, I'm going to go into the expert area that you are in terms of the D2 ranks. This next matchup is out of the SIC, which is fascinating. It's a top 7 matchup, 2 versus 6. You have the Edward Waters ranked number 2 in our poll rankings, coming in at 4-1, 3-0. And number 6, probably one of the surprise teams out there, Kentucky State Thoroughbreds, at 4-2 and 2-1. So fascinating in terms of what this means for the conference race. But you have 2 teams that are playing really good football. And I'm not sure at the beginning of this that folks would pencil these 2 teams to be in this far up in the race. And you're shaking your head, so it looks like you're agreeing with me in terms of that you see the fact that that's correct, that folks didn't really see these teams. But what are your thoughts in terms of this matchup?
I'm going to just say from a Wild's perspective, I could say this as we've played these 2 teams. You know, these were 2 teams that we thought we would have an opportunity to beat this year, and both of them beat us. The game with Edward Waters was a lot closer than the game with Kentucky State. And, excuse me, I'm losing my voice there. But Kentucky State, believe it or not, has been getting it done defensively. If you take away the Albany State game, with Albany State, you know, Albany State's going 50 on everybody. So we're going to throw that one out. They have played excellent games defensively. You know, hell, they held a Division I opponent better than they held somebody in their own conference. Edward Waters, on the other hand, their defense is a little bit shaken when compared to Kentucky State. Look, it's real simple. 13 hours on a bus from Jacksonville, Florida to Frankfort, Kentucky.
Mm-hmm.
You have to lean on the home team in this one just because of the articulation with that. Hell, they might be on the road now trying to get up there for that game so that they can get up there and make sure they have enough time to get their rest. No, I'm dead serious when I said that. When I look at the
that's why I laugh, because you're right. You have to break
they
it up.
actually may be already on the road heading to. They might be passing through Atlanta about right now, coming out of Florida. Who knows? But I'm leaning with the home team in this one, Dr. Cavil. Despite Eric Dooley's offense is not it's good, but it's not that SWAC offense that we used to seeing.
Yeah, good points. I love it. Wilton, go to you out of the CIAA. Top 10 matchup here. Livingstone Blue Bears versus Fayetteville State Broncos. Broncos, as we said, they started off slow this year, 0-3, but won 3 straight. All of those have been in the CIAA. Livingstone Blue Bears been steady, 3-2, 3-1. Fascinating to see where you see this in terms of the CIAA race. And certainly a lot of these teams, obviously Fayetteville's technically with Virginia Union, but Virginia Union seems to be the team that many would want to pencil in terms of spot in the championship game. So one of these two teams with a victory here really puts themselves in good position. What are your thoughts on this particular matchup?
Doc, I look at this game and I think it's an interesting one. Definitely one to keep an eye on coming into this week. But I'm gonna take my chances with Fayetteville State, and I think they get this win as long as they essentially establish physicality. They're able to run the ball, control the clock, and really limit big plays from Livingstone. I think if they're able to do that, I think they essentially get this win against Livingstone.
Good stuff. I'm gonna go to you, Charles. Going back to your state in terms of Texas Southern University, obviously familiar with those matchups, oftentimes with Grambling and Jackson State, but this one is interesting in terms of Western Division. As you are breaking down and giving folks a knowledge, and they're asking you questions as you're doing the show, and you're trying to give them some updates of what to expect on so many SWAC games. Like, no, I'm actually talking about it. Just turn on YouTube. You can hear it here. He's like, I want to hear it from you.
Let me tell you what happened, Doc, real quick. I had a former mascot for Colorado who heard Jackson State and looked over like, hey, so that's exactly what happened.
That's pretty awesome. I'm glad you shared that for sure. I was teasing you, but I knew it was something good. With that being said, we have Grambling State Tigers sitting 9th spot, 3-2, 0-1. Can't afford to have another loss, but you have Texas Southern had that early loss per review, last play of the game. We'll never forget that because it was one for the books. But they bounced back, and in terms of this last game, they bounced back big, a 50 spot. The other two we may not have seen coming, but we could see it when you talk about Jackson State putting up their 57. Obviously, Alabama State putting up 52, and we're holding off that matchup to the next segment, as this will be the last one we'll do in this segment. But Texas Southern offensively looking good, defensive solid. They held Pine Bluff to 7 points. I'm fascinated to hear what you have to say about this matchup between Grambling Texas Southern has to go into the hole.
They have to go to the hole, and I think it's going to be very intriguing. I was talking to a couple players this past week, and I think the fascinating thing is they're starting to talk about how well they're communicating and how the defense is really starting to gel and come together. And we know those Texas Southern linebackers, they're flying around all over the place. They're in the top 5 in the SWAC in terms of tackles. So when you take a look at the defense, they're really gelling. Offensively, they're finding an identity now. KJ Cooper, Atheon Renfro, Trent Leary. So this is a team, we saw it last week, that can score some points. I'm going to go with Texas Southern down there in the hole to get the W. Still haven't seen Xavier Toussaint be particularly consistent week in, week out.
Yeah, boy. It'll be a lot of thoughts going on in Grambling if Texas Southern comes down there and puts some on one, boy. You talking about the shift of the West, moving really west into Texas. If that happens, still a lot of it to be played, but that's fascinating to me. We'll take our last break, come back in that last segment. As I told you, we'll spend the whole segment on this next matchup. It's number 1 versus number 2. Stick with us, we'll be right back after this break to talk about it.
You're looking for the latest information on Southern University sports, the Southwestern Athletic Conference, and HBCU athletics. There's only one place to go. Tune in to the Carlos Brown Show, exclusively on the Black College Sports Network.
Planning an event? From weddings to corporate functions, CMJ Events LLC brings over 15 years of experience to make your vision a reality. Based in Metro Atlanta and serving statewide, even internationally, we provide versatile event planning and authentic catering cuisines tailored to your needs. Whether it's pregame meals for student athletes, fundraisers, weddings, corporate functions, CMJ Events LLC is your one-stop solution for exceptional service and unforgettable food. Our diverse culinary heritage means we cater to all cultural taste, dietary needs, and food restrictions, making every meal uniquely yours. Let's make your next event unforgettable. Visit us on all social media at CMJ Events LLC or email us at cmjeventsllc@gmail.com. Also give us a call at 404-664-3882 so that we can start planning now.
College football fans, a champion will rise in Atlanta on December 13th. MEAC champion, SWAC champion, the 10th Cricket Celebration Bowl, crowning an HBCU national champion. For event and ticket information, visit thecelebrationbowl.com.
Since 2002, Empowerment Resources, Inc., a nonprofit organization, has empowered more than 1,500 youth and adults in Duval and surrounding counties. Through its programs, Journey into Womanhood, Girls Mentoring, Life Skills for Teens, and Parenting Education Coaching. To get involved with programs, volunteer, or donate, visit www.empowermentresourcesinc.org. Follow us on social media, facebook.com/empowerment.resources and instagram.com/empowermentJAX.
For over 30 years, HBCU Image has been more than just an apparel store. We've been a movement, a statement, a legacy. We celebrate the pride, the purpose, and the culture that make historically black colleges and universities legendary. HBCU Image, a Kenny T's company.
ESPN Events presents Red Lobster Band of the Year. Returning to Atlanta on December 12th, 4 bands will qualify for the big stage, where 2 national champions will be crowned. Follow us for rankings updates throughout the season, and join us on December 12th. For event and ticket information, visit bandoftheyear.com.
Compress the analytic data with your hip hop. If you know them like I know them, they gon' tell you if your team, if they wanna lose, and who the ball. So listen to Professor, yes sir, and pay attention, cause he gon' teach a lesson.
This is Dr. Cavil with Inside HBCU Sports Lab. Fascinating about this next matchup. Can't quite talk about it enough. I've already dubbed it as the game of the decade. Obviously, a couple of other games could be discussed and put in that category, but it is certainly one of them, and we'll see if it lives up to the matchup. We have in this matchup number 2, the Alabama State Hornets, going on the road, 4-1, 2-0. They're at number 1 Jackson State Tigers, 4-1, 2-0. So obviously the top of the Eastern Division is at stake. It's very early in the conference race for both of these teams. But in terms of where they're projected, you have Jackson State in terms of the FCS rankings. They are up at number 14. You have Alabama State that is essentially 34 as they're receiving votes outside of the top 25. So various categories. Most people in the poll rankings have these teams as 1, 2. Alabama State is no lower than 3 in any of those polls as well. We have it as the 1 versus 2 matchup, and we'll talk about it just like that. Before we get into it, I want to kind of get into tell of the tape. This is courtesy of No Chill in terms of what they broke down in terms of this matchup. I want to give them some love. Great graphic designs they put here. But more importantly, when you do with points per game, you have Alabama State at 40.6, Jackson State at 34.6. So they're right there, negligible in a lot of ways in that. Opponents' points per games. Alabama State giving up a little bit more there. While they score a little more, they're giving up more points too, 23.4. With Jackson State giving up just under 18, 17.8 to be exact. Rush yards, fascinating. Both of these teams can run the ball pretty doggone effectively. Hornets at 238 yards, a clip if you would, while Jackson State is 269.4. Opponents rush yards. They hold teams down when they seek to try to rush the ball. Jackson State defensively does a little better than Alabama State at 115.4, but the Hornets come in at 181.6. Pass yards. Hornets are putting up 212 yards in terms of what they do, while Jackson State putting up 237. opponents' pass yards when you look at where they hold down people in the air raids, if you would. Alabama State is giving up 213, while Jackson State is giving up 195. Total yards, 450 for the Hornets, 506, if you would, for Jackson State. Opponents' total yards, 395 for the Hornets, Jackson State at 310. Third down conversions, this is always faster than 8 to me. Both of them are above 50%, or at least right at 50%. For the Hornets at 57.7, 50% for the Tigers. Opponents' third downs conversions. Hornets have given up 50% in terms of third downs, while Jackson State just under 30, if you would. Tell of the tape. I gave you a lot of data. I set it up in terms of 1 versus 2. I want to see what direction you go. I'm going to start out with you first, Wilton. Let me know, what are your thoughts in terms of this matchup? What will be the key thing that, whether it's this data markers that you see out there or others that you want to pull yourself, what are you saying are some key things that the viewers need to watch in this game as they go inside the trenches?
Doc, I'm so glad that you laid out all the stats, because obviously that's important, and stats make up the game and what we, kind of predict going into big games. But I really do think that, I'm not going to say throw the stats out, but I think in this game where you have basically 1 and 2, on the rush, on the ground and in the air and on defense, these are the top 2 teams in the SWAC. It's no secret about that for the most part. But I think when you really look at this game and you want to determine who's going to be the winner, I think for sure it's going to come down to which defense is able to get stops. And if you really want to take a really good glance at some things, if you take a look at that third down completion rate, or opponent's third down completion rate, Alabama State, they're allowing 50%, and Jackson State is allowing 29.2%. So I think for me, I'm looking to see which defense really steps up. We know what Jackson State can do. We've seen them have, second half shutouts against opponents and limiting them from scoring points, which means if that's the case, the opposing teams aren't scoring points, that means they're not getting third downs. So if you are at Jackson State, your best bet is to control the clock. That means if you're controlling the clock, that means somebody by the name of Andrew Body is not on the field. And that rushing attack for Alabama State is not, essentially gaining steam or gaining yards, and vice versa. If you're Alabama State, you're Andrew Body and you are cooking essentially from the pocket, you are making plays with your legs, you are finding your weapons along the perimeter. That means essentially Jackson State's offense is not humming like it typically is, specifically in that second half. So I think it's going to come down to defense, which particular team's defense makes those critical stops. And don't be surprised if you see a special teams player too really, really come and make an essential impact to which team wins this game. We've seen Jackson State kind of have some struggles in knocking in in extra points on special teams. So that'll be something I'll be looking to see. Also, in terms of punting, can Jackson State continue to put their opponents deep in, opposing field position, basically not giving their teams good field positions to start drives? That's something I'll be looking forward to see, because it's hard to essentially start a drive if you're starting from your own 15, you're starting from your own 20 versus starting at your 35 or your 40. So that's something. Those 2 key components are 2 of the biggest ones that I'm looking forward to in this game coming into the matchup. Just
one ready to let Charles do his breakdown. He's buffering a little bit in the airport there. So I'm going to go to you, Drew, see if we can save him and tease him literally for last as we get into this. As we said with you, 1 versus 2. Key matchups, key in terms of the Eastern Division. Many people believe whoever comes out of this will likely find a way to represent and be the team coming out of the Eastern Division for the SWAC championship game. Not only do you have that, part of this is what you see in regards to who will host a championship game. Obviously, you got to see what comes out of the West. But a lot of things are at stake, a lot of things that online, legacies for these quarterbacks, for a lot of the players. With that being said, Drew, where are you going in terms of your data points? What are you looking for in this matchup?
First stat you brought out, Dr. Cavil, is points per game and opponents' points per game for the 2 respective teams. What I like to look at, Dr. Cavil, is margin. Both of these teams score margin of victory It's 17 points, Dr. Cavil, i.e., it's even. So, gotta have to throw that stat out. I found a couple of stats that we have not looked at that are on this screen that I need my people to consider. I'm gonna start off with time of possession. Alabama State is averaging 28-25, while their opponents are 31-31 time of possession. We flipped that. Jackson State's time of possession. How ironic. 31-29 is what Jackson State holds the ball, while their opponents are 28-28. That's telling me Jackson State is going to hold the ball a little bit more. Jackson State is at 32 minutes. What does that mean, Wilton? Who's not on the field?
Andrew
Body. So that's an advantage for Jackson State. But when Andrew Body does get on the field, what is the one thing Andrew Body has not done this year, everybody? He has not thrown an interception. So, can Jackson State turn him over?
Oh, yeah.
That's going to be another one that you need to look at. My last point that I want to bring out for people to think about. Jackson State is good, but there are some things that they have to clean up, i.e., the yellow handkerchiefs on the field. Yeah. Jackson State, penalties. 55 this year for 494 yards versus 35 for Alabama State for 287 yards. What does that mean? Alabama State is not going to beat themselves. They're not going to have a touchdown call back because of a hole or because of a block in the back, where that could be something that could wind up costing Jackson State. And if I have a touchdown come off the board and have to go 3 for 7 because I had a touchdown come off the board, or I have an unsportsmanlike or a PI that sets up my opponent to score, those are those little hidden yardages that people don't see that make the difference in games like this, everybody. Pay attention to the little things. Pay attention to penalties. Pay attention to interceptions. Pay attention to those little stats, everybody. That's the stuff that we got to pay attention to. Time of possession.
Good stuff. And you're right. Those little things in big-time matchups can go a long way when you start looking at the outcome of the game. Let me go to you, Charles, kind of close things up. We'll call it the show after you break it down. One thing I also want you to talk about is not just what you're focused on is the game, but where this goes when you start thinking about legacies. Taylor is starting to stack up some things that are really solid in terms of what he gets done. I know it's one of those things, and you talk about legacy when somebody's in the middle of it, it can get a little tough.
Yeah.
I want to look at that. And then you have on the other side, you talk about doing it as a player. Eddie Robb Jr., in terms of what he's able to do, legacy significant there, playing at the highest level in the NFL, really having a solid career. But now he comes back to his program, and he's built them into solid pro teams. Now he has a chance to put one of those serious check marks on the box, getting this victory and put him in himself to potentially start thinking about playing for a divisional championship, and then that puts you in a position to play for a conference championship. And the way things line up, that means you could be in Atlanta at the Celebration Bowl. That's huge when you talk about what the commitment they've done for Alabama State. But now you do that for Jackson State. That's 4 in 5 years. That would be 2 back-to-back in terms of that. And if you can get it done, that's 2 back-to-back national championships. Even in the relevant history of Jackson State, that becomes extremely significant. So talk about the matchup, and then if focusing a little forward, how those things play into such a big game when there's so much on the line.
Well, I think if there's any meat on the bone, I think Wilton and AD, they touched on everything with regards to this.
That's why I tried to take you in a different direction for this.
Yeah, but I think the big thing that you really want to take a look at, I think both of these teams, they can go from 20 to 20. But when you get in the red zone, that's where you got to make your bones in the red zone. And I think that's going to be huge in this game with regards to Jackson State and Alabama State. I think the big thing, and if you're a Jackson State fan, something that really has to excite you going into this game, T.C. Taylor is not missing on these big games. I mean, he has proven himself to be a big game coach, whether you're talking about the Florida A&M game last year, whether you're talking about the Celebration Bowl, going to Southern this year. He is not missing on any of these big games. And I think that's a huge feather in Jackson State's cap to know that the general of the ship can lead you where you need to go. I think that's huge going into this game. When you take a look at, both of these quarterbacks, Jacoby Morgan, Andrew Body, I think stars will come out to play. Both of these guys will play really, really well. I think the great thing about this game, great thing about this matchup, no fear from Alabama State going into this game, going into Veterans Memorial Stadium. They've gone there. They've won before. Big thing with Jackson State on the flip side, they've done well against Andrew Body before. Again, it's a different regime when we're talking about Coach Prime, but when they faced him in the first two times they saw Andrew Body, he only completed 41% of his passes, 21 of 51 in 2 games. So I think that's another something that's going into this game that I think Jackson State will give him different looks. They're going to, essentially try to cut the legs off of Alabama State, make them one-dimensional. If Andrew Body's going to beat you throwing, that just has to be the way it has to be. But they're going to keep you from running the football. That's what they've been doing for the past 2 years. So I think going into this game, that's a huge 2 things that I'm really looking at. It's going to be a great one. I got Jackson State winning in this one. I think it'll be 31-21. I think Jackson State's defense is just that much better. And big game, homecoming, raucous atmosphere. I think you'll have a 12th man get into it. I think Tigers will go ahead and get this one.
Good stuff. Well, Charles gave us a breakdown, gave us a score. So let me go back to you, Wilton. What are you looking at in terms of a score and who will be on top?
I think Jackson State takes this game anywhere between 7 and 10 points. So Charles said 31-21. I could actually agree with that, either 31-21 or 31-24.
Good stuff. AD Drew, what direction are you going with your score and who will be on top?
My score, I think it's going to be like a 41-28 ball game. This is going to be a high scoring ball game. We talk about these defenses. I think these offenses going to come to play. And as far as the winner goes, my body all over your body.
Alabama State quarterback getting it done. Andrew Body for.
I will say this one last thing.
Yeah.
This is a Toriano Quinn game. You talk about one of the hottest coordinators in the SWAC. Every time he has to show up and show out, he's done it. This Jackson State defense, they're playing lights out defense. And I think that's kind of the difference going into this game in my head.
Yeah. That defense on one side for the Jackson State facing against Alabama State offensive, as Drew alluded to, and both you and Wilton picked in terms of what Jackson can do to choke you up like a python. That is one side of the ball that's going to be fascinating to watch. Obviously, every angle that you look at this game is going to be interesting. With that being said, make sure you tune in Saturday to to SWAC TV in regards to the pregame show, looking at game time, and then make sure you turn in to ESPNU for the actual matchup. So fascinating to see what that looks like on Saturday. Then we'll be here on Sunday. We'll let you know who's going to be smoking the cigar. And outside of that, neither one of these teams will really be on the ledge. I would suggest whether they lose or not. But there'll be some other programs that will be on the ledge, depending on how their games come out. So,
Dr. Cavil, they won't be on the ledge. They will have completed the jump.
Exactly.
Y'all can't be pushing people off the ledge. That's the whole fun, is to put them on the ledge. We can't talk about it no more if they jumping. With that being said, let me say thank you for listening to Inside the HBCU Sports Lab. Make sure you share a podcast with your friends and colleagues. I am Dr. Kenyatta, the Dean of HBCU Sports, coming from inside the lab in the College of HBCU Sports with Mike Washington, Charles Bishop. Want to give a thank you to these gentlemen as they're putting in a lot of different work, giving you the extra time. But as they have a lot going on, and you see even folks making arrangements for the travel, giving you a show in the airport in terms of what that looks like, coming back early staying late. So I want to say thank you, gentlemen. Thank all the lab listeners. Give us the reason to get that done. Again, thank you for listening to Dr. Bill's Inside the HBCU Sports Lab with Mike Watson, Charles Bishop, Wilton Jackson II, A.D. Drew, every Tuesday and Thursday. And again, on Sunday mornings, oftentimes, we'll give you a breakdown, let you know what took place. And then we'll unveil the major division top 7, let you know what that looks like. Look for the ledge. We'll tell you who's hot, Big Ben sticker, and all those things on Sunday morning. Follow me, Dr. Kenyatta Cavil, on Threads, Facebook, and Instagram. That's DrKenyattaCavil, Inside the HBCU Sports Lab 1 on Facebook, Inside the HBCU Sports Lab on YouTube. I would tell you that Mike was out there thinking he was going to Brazil. Not so fast, my friend. Making us feel bad. God don't like ugly, Mike. Continue to move forward. We will talk with you soon. Charles.
Of course.
Drew.
Lecture.
Wilton.
Dismissed.
My man. Y'all be safe out there. Take care. Enjoy.